Hi guys, welcome to My Little Paintbrush. I am Sarah and today we get to paint a flower girl. She is very special to me. I painted her when I was just a little girl, so I hope you enjoy painting this as well. She comes with a lot of colors in your paint kit, if you have our paint kit. So you can change up her hair and make it any color you want. You can also change the dress color and the flower colors. So have fun with this and enjoy the process, okay? I'll be painting at a steady pace. If you need to pause the video, you can do that, okay? You can also rewind and go back. Go at your pace. All right, we're going to use a couple of brushes. I have a large flat, a round, and a detail brush. These are the ones that work for me. You use what works for you. All right, we have a jar of water handy and a napkin. And I also have all of my paint laid out on a plate for me. You can see I separated my white into 3 piles. That's super important so that you don't contaminate it all at once, okay? So keep that in mind as you are using your white. Let's first start with our flat brush, okay? I'm going to put it in some water and shake it out. We just want to start with damp bristles. And I just tap off the water. And we're actually going to start with our skin tone. So let's make our skin tone. You get to decide whatever skin tone you want, right? I'm going to be using a little bit of white and a touch of brown to start with. And mix that together. And I already have the skin tone I want, okay? You can also add a little bit of pink to it if you want to. Sometimes that's nice if you add a little pink, but feel free to change the shade to whatever you want. Okay, now that I have my shade ready, I'm just going to fill in the top of the head here, brush around the hair. It's okay if you paint into the hair a little bit, not a big deal. I'm going to go ahead and paint around the cheek. And I'm trying to brush out any thick brush strokes, but that's a personal preference. Some artists love those thick brush strokes, so you do what you like. Just make sure you have enough paint on there that you're filling in any canvas pockets. You want to make sure those canvas pockets are filled. So I'm going to come around the shoulder now, fill it in up close to the dress. And then I'm going to round it out here at the elbow. Give yourself a smile shape for that elbow. And come right up into the flowers. Let that fade out. See how the paint just fades out into the flowers? And don't worry about it. Just like that. Looks great. I'm just brushing over it, making sure that I have all of my thick paint brushed out. And it looks good. Just like that. You'll outline and everything else later if you want to, okay? One thing I do like to do sometimes as an extra is I'll add a little shadow around the hair. So I use a darker shade of paint. In this case, I'll use brown. Touch of brown on my brush, just on the corner. And I'm going to follow the edge of my hairline, just like that. Just brushing in very lightly. You want to add just a touch of brown, not too much, just to give a hint of a shadow there along the hairline. See that? Just a hint. There we go. Anywhere else you want to add a shadow, you can, but that's really just where I put it. And we'll outline everything later. Great, perfect. Let's see, I am going to add just a little bit here along the arm too, because it's shadowed on that side just slightly. Not too much, but just a little bit. See that? All right, so let's rinse our brush now. Let that dry. Perfect. Now we're going to put in our background. So we're going to let that dry while we put in our background color. My background is a really soft green. You can change it. Make it any color you want to. But to mix my green, I'm going to use a little bit of this really dark shade of green, phthalo green, and a lot of yellow. I'm going to mix those together. And you'll get this limey green, see that? Now I do need quite a bit of white for this, so I'm going to add a lot of white until I get the shade I want. It's going to be a lot of white for me. Plus I have a big background to cover, so I want a lot of paint. I'm going to get a really light pastel-y shade here of green. I like this, I think. I like it. Let's try it. I'm going to start at the top here and just start brushing it in, starting at the corner. Just like that. Brush it in. I think I like it. We can adjust it if we need to. Okay, and you'll notice I'm just going around my image. I haven't painted up close to her yet. And I'll show you why. As I get closer to her, I want to get lighter with my paint. So I do this, I go around the edges, then I load my brush with white, and I start to lighten that up as I get closer to her. So I just load my brush with white. I don't rinse my brush, just load it with white and start brushing closer to her hair and face and the flowers outline here. Don't worry too much if you brush inside of them a little bit. It's okay. You're going to paint them later. Right now, we're just trying to fade this white into our green so it draws attention to her. It's a lot lighter in the middle and darker on the sides. See that? That's what we want. Let that lighter shade fade in. Just like that. Perfect. Do it on our other side here. Again, I'm not rinsing my brush. I'm just going to brush around her. You want to work pretty quick here because once your paint starts drying, it's a lot harder to fade that white into your green. So you want to move pretty quick and not think too much about it. Sometimes we overthink these things. It's supposed to be a little messy. There we go. And just brush it out. Let those brush strokes show as you go around her. Let them show. All right, we just have some little spots here. If you need to switch brushes, go ahead and do that. If these little areas are too hard for you to get with your big flat brush, I like using the toe of my brush. That's the tippy point of it to do these corners and little spaces. But you do what works for you. Go, come right around her chin. Paint inside those edges. And then right here, we have a little bit just, I fill this in, even though you're going to put leaves there. I fill it in just to make sure. And there's a little triangle shape here under her, right behind her arm, next to her dress. So I make sure I fill that in as well. And if you have our canvas, you can paint all your edges too. We call that wrapping our canvas. Paint your edges green. There we go. That looks so good. I think I like it. Just make sure you have those streaks in there where you want. You can brush in more white if you want to. Kind of step back and look at it. Make sure. If we're too close, sometimes it's hard to see it. But I love that. So let's rinse our brush. And we're working with our green, so we're actually going to go right into our leaves. Okay. So let's use, I like to use my number 6 round brush. You can use any round brush that works for you. And let's make our leaf color. First, dip it in some water. This, okay. And our leaf color needs to be darker than our background. So I'm going to add more of our dark green here to my background mix. If you want to start over or need to, you can. It's just the green and the yellow and white. And you're going to mix this until you get the shade you want. I want mine pretty dark. So I'm trying to even out the green and the yellow together to get more of a foresty green. You can also add brown to the green if you want. Okay, and just mix until I like the color, and I really think I'm getting close here. I think I like it. So you can use this number 6 round brush, or you can use a detail brush for the same thing, whichever works for you. Now you can see where your flowers are. Your flowers are where all these little circles are. So you have one here, one here, one here, here, and here, okay? So as we're painting, if you start to get lost and you're not sure if it's a leaf or a flower, it's okay. We're gonna come back and do the flowers, and you can change and add petals where needed, okay? You just follow along with me here. I'll guide you through this. So right here along the shoulder is where I start. I'm just gonna fill in these spaces here. I like to start at the very tip of my leaf. So as I point and press, I get my leaf shape. That point and press to get your leaf shape. And again, if you want to, you can use your detail brush. Sometimes with these little leaves, the detail brush is easier. Just have to work with what you like. So here's my leaves over here. And it's okay if you paint inside your flower petals a little bit. You're going to come back to them later. But our flowers are on top of our leaves, so we want to paint our leaves first, so our flowers have something to sit on. Okay, and our leaves are kind of in a V shape. You can see they all come together. Press and pull. Gonna fill in little spaces, just like that. Okay. Little leaf poking out here. Let's see, we have 2 leaves right here. This is the trickiest one because the leaf is actually this pointed part right here. This is the bottom leaf, okay? And it's gonna come up right underneath that petal, and then it's gonna come back out right over here. So it looks like it's just popping out from underneath this flower here, okay? And it is a little bit, this is the trickiest leaf because it's harder to see it. So you can come back to it if you need to. All right, now, right in this little cluster here, these are all leaves, so I'm just gonna fill it in around my petals. They're all just leaves here. Fill it in. You won't even notice what this looks like. There's not a whole lot of shape here to this one. Okay. And then you have these petals here, right? These are leaves right in between. Right in between our petals, you have leaves. It's going to fill that in so I can put my flowers on top. And then here we have leaves that fill in the space all the way down. All the way up to those petals. And we painted it so you can decide if you want to fill these in or not. It's up to you. Just like that, until you have little leaves all the way down there. Okay, there you go. Just want to make sure I have a good layer on everything. And there's your leaves. They are done. I'm going to give that more of a point right there. Let's just let those leaves dry so we can come back in and paint our flowers over them. Okay, let's rinse our brush. Just like that. All right, perfect. So now while those are drying, we're gonna go and put our hair in. So I have blonde hair for mine. So I'm gonna mix some yellow and white together to get a light shade to start with. Okay, if you want brown, you could do that as well. You could also do red by mixing the pink and the yellow together. Okay, here we go. Let's start up at the top. So when I am painting hair, I always imagine my paintbrush is a hairbrush. That's the trick to getting the hair to look like it's flowing in the right direction. So I'm going to start here at the top of my ponytail. I'm going to brush around as if I'm brushing out her ponytail and curling it at the end. See that? So each brush stroke is going to curl at the end just a little further, just like you're giving it a hook at the end. Just gets a little lower as you come down. But then you have all of those brush strokes in the ponytail. We have one more little curl right here at the bottom. Okay. Oh, sorry about that. I know that's loud. Let's do our bangs. So we're going to start here and do our bangs coming down and around. And again, I'm brushing in the direction that the bangs are laying. I'm going to brush around, fill that in. Cute. I just love her. And then we're going to brush this in around. Brushing down. You should be able to still see the outline through the yellow, which will really help when you're doing your low lights in a little bit. Okay, so there we go. We have our yellow first layer. Let's let that dry for a minute. I'm rinsing my brush. And now I'm going to mix my dress color. So let's add just a little bit of pink to white to start out, because I want a very light shade of pink to start with. Very light. So you can see here, I'm making sure it's really light. Okay. And I'm going to move quickly because I'm also going to float this dress. Okay. So let's start first with the top part. And the top part of the dress is going to be darker here, the very front. Okay. We're going to fill this in. And I'm brushing down. Start from that top and brush down, just like that. You want to make sure you're brushing down so it shows the direction that that dress is lying. And then I'm going to slowly dust that edge so it fades out, okay? I don't want to keep brushing. And then I'm going to add a little bit over here along this edge. Like that, right? Okay, I'm going to show you how we're going to highlight that. Now, first, let that dry. Let's go ahead now and do all our ruffles. So I'm going to start from the center or from the waist, and I'm going to brush out in the direction of each ruffle. So I'm brushing out in that direction. Try and keep your brush moving down as much as you can for this. That's what's going to make it look like that material is flowing that way. Doing each one, brushing down right off my canvas. Go right under the elbow here, best I can, and then brush out. We go, and you can see you already have different shades showing up, right, in your dress. Okay, so now we're going to add some light if you would like to. I'm just going to wipe off my brush. I'm not rinsing it, but I'm going to add some white to the corner of my brush, just like this. And if you want, you can dust in more white right here in the center. If you feel like your pink got away from you, and you need more white, just put a little bit of white on your brush and brush over it so the edges are darker and the center is lighter. That's the idea. To cast some light maybe a little bit of a shine on the dress. Just like that. Okay, just like that. And then you can take this white and do the same thing, brushing down the middle of each ruffle. I try to focus on the center rather than the edges. So we're going to darken the edges and we're lighting up the center of our dress to give it that shimmer. Okay, there we go. Just like that. Perfect. Let's rinse our brush. And before your paint dries, I'm going to float the edges. You can outline it too. I'll show you both, okay? To float, rinse your brush and put a little bit of dark just on the corner of it. And we'll start here at the top. I'm facing that pink out to the outside edge. Just like that. Right? I'm going to do it along the back. Like that. And I'm going to do it just along the front here. I will outline the rest and show you that. So you can outline this with a detail brush if it's easier. Okay, so to do all of those curves we're going to put here in our creases of the dress, I'm curving my brush around and I'm working my way down, curving each one. Just like that. Each one. So I'm going to come do this one, curve it out. Right off the canvas. And again, you can just use a detail brush and go through each one, outlining this. If you would rather do that instead of floating the edges, that's definitely an option. All right, come around. Some of your floated lines are going to be bigger than others. That's okay. That's how it should be. We don't want these to be totally perfect. It's a dress. Sometimes I'll go back and I'll even thicken them up just a little more. Okay, brush it out. Perfect. And now let's do this one here. Come around both sides. All the way. Oh, I got a drip on that one. Too much water. The trick to floating is having water in your brush. It helps so much when you're floating. So I'm going to come around here. And then we'll do this one too, coming around and drop it down. Both sides. You want to do both sides to get that crease to look like it's coming down on both sides of the dress. There we go. I'm going to do the other side over here. Now we have one more here, and this is the trickiest one because it's really small. Very light about it, coming around. And then the other side. There we go. Take some concentration to get both sides of that, but we got it. Just make sure I dust in enough dark on that side. There you have it. Good job. Now to add just a little bit of shadow on top, if you want to, I go right along the top edge of these and put a little bit of dark. So it looks like it's kind of popping up on the other side of the dress as well. Just like that. Perfect. Now let's rinse that brush out. Okay, and you can look at your dress and decide if you want more dark or more light on it. That's totally up to you. I'm going to take a detail brush now, which is what you could have used to do this whole dress if you wanted to. If you didn't want to do that floating, you can use a liner detail brush, okay? And I'm just going to put some pink on it. This is what we'll use to do our strap here. And our strap is just slightly curved. Come around and down, just like that. Very simple. And then we're going to go right along the top of her dress here with the pink to connect the strap. There we go, just like that. Now we've got to do the seam down the back of her dress. So I'm just going to take my detail brush, and the seam matches up with the second loop here of the dress. So it matches up with that. So I'm just going to start here at the top, come down, just match it with that seam, just like that. And then flip your brush around, use the back of it to stamp in your pink. And let's put buttons. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them. I'm just going to do 1, 2, I just load my brush, 3, 4, and 1 more, 5. So 5 little buttons down. Isn't that cute? Oh my goodness, I love it. All right, so she does have a little hairpiece in her hair that's pink, but we'll wait till later to do it. All right, so let's go back to her hair, and we'll do that in a minute. Let's put our layer of flowers in. So our leaves should be totally dry. So all we're going to do now is you can take your round brush or a detail brush again, and I'm going to mix some white with my blue and get a really light shade of blue. I wanted it pretty light. You can adjust that, right? And all we're going to do now is put our petals on here. So I'm starting up top, pressing, just point and press those petals towards the center. That's already outlined on there for me. Like that. And now I'm going to go over here to this one and pull those petals away. You can go away from the center or pull them towards the center. You kind of fill that out. See which works better for you. Press and pull each one. You can add more petals than we've given you. You can take them away. It's up to you. I have, let's see, I believe 5 on this one. Yep, 5 petals. So I'm just going to brush each one towards the center. And I'm not too worried if I paint into the center a lot. It's okay. I need to mix more blue. You'll need a lot more than you think you do. All right, so now let's do our next petals. So we have the center here coming out away towards our leaves. I like to paint from the outside in because I like how it gives me a rounder edge for that petal. But some artists like going from the inside out, so you'll just have to see what you prefer on that one. Petal and one more right there. So I'm going to fill those in. All the way out. And again, petals don't need to be perfect, right? They don't. So make sure you can see them. So I have those there. I love to let the streaks show in my petals. I like how it looks. So I don't stress it too much. And then we have this one here coming towards the center as well. One there. And you can add more green if you feel like we need more leaves or more space filled. That is okay. Let's see. 1, 2, 4, and 5 there. Okay. All right. So now let's go do this one over here. Brush out. You can see how the edges are there. I like to brush in. One there. Okay. Coming in towards the center. And I like to use the dark blue in a little bit just to outline some of the petals so you can see them. So I'm not worried too much right now about whether or not these are perfect. I love painting nature because it's not necessary. You don't have to have those perfect petals for it to look good. I fill in these. I have 1, 2, let's see how many are there. 3. So I got 1, 2, 3. We're white on those, huh? There we go. And then we have this one here, which needs a little more shaping. So I'm going to pull, let's see, nope, we'll start here. I'm going to do 1 petal there. 1, because this one comes around more. 3. 4. There. 5. Okay. This one just kind of peeks out. So do these here. These are just peeking. And that one's tucked away. Let's fill that in. And then we have one more here. It's just like the top one where it's just kind of peeking out. So I'm just pressing and pulling, and they're just these little teardrop shapes. It's like that. Just perfect. I think we have 1, 2, 3. Yep. And there you go. So we're gonna let those dry just a minute, and then you can go back and outline your flowers if you want to. As long as you can see them, you're okay. So I'm gonna rinse my brush now. Let those dry a second. Let's go back to our hair. So I'm going to grab my red flat brush again. We're going to add lowlights and highlights to our hair. The first thing I want you to do, clean brush, take some yellow and put it on your brush. And we're just going to start by brushing that darker shade of yellow down into your hair. Make sure you curve the edges. And you'll see different shades of yellow happening, which is what you want when you're doing hair. You can paint the whole thing yellow or just add a touch of dark wherever you want. This is our first step. So we're going to add a darker shade of yellow. Just like this. And I'm letting that lighter shade of yellow still kind of show through. Right? Now, I'm not going to rinse my brush. I'm just going to put some brown on it. So I'm going to put some brown just on the corner. You can also take your detail brush and outline if that's easier for you. But I'm going to go right along the edge and add that brown just along the edge of her ponytail here. See that? It's a darker shade. Make sure your brush has water and it's not too dry. There we go. I want to make sure it flows for you. So I have my darker shade of brown just on that edge. Okay, and now this is where it's going to start curling for you in a minute. So I'm going to show you. But let's first do the inside of the ponytail here. Just where that little barrette piece is going to be, or hair piece, comes around. And along the top of her bangs. I'm going to paint right along the top of her bangs there. Okay. And then you're going to just put little strands of dark here. Just to give her those low lights, right? Just lightly brush those in, okay? And then we're going to go ahead and do that in the ponytail. So the way the ponytail works is you have these curls and you're going to create these curls however you want to. But I like to start here. So I have my ponytail coming out and I'm going to start right here in this little area where my hair curls up. I'm going to curl around and pull my brush up. So it looks like I have a little hook that connects that curl, right? And I'm going to come under it, just under it, and create another curl that comes right up with the brown. And you can do this again with your line brush, okay? If you would rather do it with that instead of floating it, works great. Now let's do our other one. I have another little loop here. Comes up, just like that. And then we have one more here. It's gonna loop around and up. So you're adding these curls to your ponytail. Okay, we have one more here at the bottom. We're gonna let it loop around and curl up. So cute, right? I love it so much. Then I'm gonna come here and just make sure I brush it in however I want with that low light. Just kind of bring it up there. And we're gonna brush in little strands of dark here. One there. Let's do a couple here, like just curling off. Do a couple little strokes. Isn't that cute? I think we're about there, guys. So close. So now that you have your little curls, you can take your detail brush and put some brown on it and just clean it up anywhere you want. So I like to go back in here. Just make sure my curls are showing up because they're so cute. You can add more, you can take away, whatever works for you, whatever you like. Okay, I have a few strands. You can kind of curl it up like that. Love it. You can change it, make it yours. Let's see. That curls. All right, just like that. And we'll have a couple here that just kind of curl up. Super cute. You can kind of break up these curls as well if you want to. It's different every time I do hair because you just don't know where your little curls will go, right? And it's totally up to you. Oh, I'm smearing my blue. All right, so right here at the bottom of her hair, she has some cute little curls as well, where it's just brushing out. So I'm going to come along here, outline. There we go. And just let that hair kind of brush out a little bit. Just to break up that edge. Same with her bangs over here. It's going to brush down. Let them fade out a little bit, you know? Little hairs, so cute. Now you're going to come back in a minute and you're going to add highlights as well. So just let that dry for a second. Don't worry too much. I'm going to smear in my blue while in my dress. I accidentally touched my flowers. Okay, I'm going to let that dry for a minute. And while I have this brown on my brush, let's go ahead and outline our face and our arms. Just make sure all of that's cleaned up just the way we want. I'm going to come along the edge of the hair to the top, just outline with some brown. And try not to smear any more blue. Oop, it's still a little wet, so I keep grabbing it on accident. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and just outline the face with that brown. Very lightly. As lightly as I can. And the shoulder. Whoop. And come right under the arm here. And up into the flowers. Let's see, we'll do a little bit here on the arm. And then right down the back here. Just like that. And then let's give her a little eyelash. So she has a little eyelash that's just curling up here. Love it. Right? So cute. Make sure that hair is kind of coming down a little bit there. Hair strokes. All right, let's let her dry there for just a second. We're going to go back to our flowers and finish them up before we do our highlighting and our bow in our hair. I just want to make sure our hair's dry before we put that bow in there. Right? A little bit of our blue. Just smeared it all in my dress there. Just going to touch it up a little bit there. It's okay. There we go. It's closer. Right. Now your flowers should be dry, so you should be able to now take your detail brush and mix a little bit of yellow and white together. Just like this, okay? And I'm going to paint the center of my flowers. And we're just going to make circles or half circles. Some of them are just peeking out. Just like that. We're just going to fill them in. Give ourselves these half circles for our petals to connect with. Another one here popping up. Kind of comes down. And then you'll add your outline to the flowers a little bit just to separate the petals. So I'm going to go ahead now and do these here. Half. This one here is a little bigger. But you can see I need more leaves right there, right? That's okay. That's why we fill it in the best we can, and then you'll just go back and you can touch up little things. So you have that there. Now, while it's wet, I just put a little brown on the very tip of my brush like this. And I'm going to go right along the bottom of each petal. And I'm going to add a little brown shadow. It can be a lot darker than this if you want. I went pretty light on it. Totally, oop, that one's a lot darker, right? That's why it's up to you. I'm gonna lighten it up just a little bit with some yellow there. Just put a little brown on there. There we go. Let that dry a sec and we'll add some light. Now anywhere you see that needs to be more green, I wait till the end to do it. Right now I'm gonna put some blue on my detail brush. Just like this. I'm gonna mix it with just a little bit of white because I don't want it too dark. I want to keep it pretty light. But I'm gonna use this to just quickly separate any of my petals if you want to. So if there's any petals you're thinking, oh, I kind of want to separate those petals, this is how you do it. And I don't necessarily do each one all the way around. I just do where I want to show a little bit of separation. So I don't worry too much about going all the way around each individual petal. I just do enough to give the idea that they're separate. So I'll go around here and then I'll separate these a little bit. And up. Just like that. Do the same here. And you can take the time. We have artists that love to take the time to go along each petal and do that. So you can if you're feeling like you want to do that. Come around on this one as well. And you're just about done. We're gonna add our highlighting. And again, you can pause if you need to catch up. Just, I know I go kind of quick on these petals. Go around here. And go ahead and fill in a little bit around here. Some of these, like this one here, has a lot of petals to fill. Again, we're just given the illusion. So if you want to fill that in more, you can. Let's see, I think, yep. So it comes around a little bit there. We have a hidden petal here, kind of tucked away. And then our last one down here. Want it a little lighter than that. There we go. Okay, just like that. So now you can see where you may want to add a little more green, right? Just right in here. You can touch up anything that you may see. There's a couple little spots, so sometimes I'll just go in and just make sure I have all my little spots filled the way I want them to be. Just like that. Looks so good, right? Already, now you can just add your highlighting to separate your leaves. So we're going to add some highlighting to our leaves and the center of our flowers and anywhere else you want to. This is where you get to lighten up your painting. Now I want to make sure that my hair is dry, and then I'm going to add my little hair tie to my ponytail. So I'm just going to put some pink on a detail brush here. Okay, I'm going to come right up here to the center of my ponytail, and I'm going to curve slightly a little brush stroke, just like that, for my hair tie. So let that dry, and let's do our highlighting. You'll be all finished. I'm going to let the flowers dry just a second before I highlight them. So we're going to highlight our hair with our white. This is the last thing we do. We add light to our painting. So I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit of white here just on the corner of my brush because I like to float this process. But if you want to use a line brush, you can just outline it with your line brush too. I'm going to start with the hair. We're just going to brush a little bit of light along the top there. And inside our hair, coming down and around. You can add this anywhere you like. What the light does is it just brightens up your painting. It draws attention to it. So any chance we get, we add some light to our paintings. It's a little bit there. We'll add some strokes here in the hair. Then just along the top here, just like that. So then it just brightens up her hair, right? I'm honestly fixing this. This isn't a highlight. Okay. Now I'm going to do the same thing. I just add a little bit of light along the edge of the strap. It's not super noticeable. You can add some to your dress. You've already kind of done that, but if you want to add more, you can go ahead and add that light highlighting along the center to brighten it up a little bit. Okay, now once that's done, then take a detail brush, because I actually use a detail brush for the flowers. It's just a lot easier with how small those petals are. I just want to make sure you have a good amount of yellow on your flowers. Make sure they're covered. Sometimes you need another layer, so just check them. But then I'm going to put white on my brush here and just go along the top of each center just to show where the light is touching. Where the light's touching the center of those flowers. Just like that. Okay. And I'll do the same with my leaves. So I have white. You can add a little green to it if you want. I tend to just do more white than anything, but if you want to, you can add it. It just kind of highlights your leaves and separates them a little bit. Okay. And go along each one kind of quick, but you'll notice it just separates your leaves. A little more white in there. There it is. Just going to dust in that white. And you can see that it separates your leaves a little so it doesn't look like it's all clustered. Go along those. A little bit here up top. And you can keep on adding that light anywhere you want in there. Okay, the last one I do is I just add a little bit of light to my flowers. So my petals. I don't do all of them, just a couple. Just to add that light to the petals where I think the sun might be touching them. Brightens them up. Just dust it on there. You can do a line, you can dust more into the petal. I curve as I go. I curve my brush stroke just so my petal looks more rounded out. And if you have one that you don't love, you can always put a little more blue on your brush. Just brush over it. Right? Super easy to fix. And there you have it. I believe we did everything, but one thing I'm noticing, a little tiny crease in her arm right here. I just curve a little smile shape right there to show a little indent in her arm where it's curved over. And there it is, you guys, you did it. What a beautiful job. We want to make sure we sign our name, right? I did notice there's also a highlight in your little headband if you want to add that. But I'm now going to sign my name. I hope you had as much fun as I did painting her. And give us a thumbs up if you did. Come back for more. We would love to paint with you again. I'm going to find a little spot here and sign my name. I want to make sure we own our work because we worked hard and we are proud of ourselves. And we'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.